It's Valentine's Day, or at least it will be Valentine's Day when I actually edit this video. So I figured what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than doing a 24-hour indie book readathon. Now, as you probably know if you've been following me for a while, and if you haven't, hi, my name is Patrick Nine, I'm an aspiring sci-fi author. I am not a really big romance reader. However, I think it's really good to read genres that you're not as familiar with. Not only do I feel like reading other genres really helps me grow as a writer, but I also feel like it really helps me refresh my palette as a reader. Also, I will never pass up on the opportunity to help give some indie author support, and I think Valentine's Day is the perfect time to help support some indie romance authors. All the books I'll talk about in this 24-hour readathon are available on Kindle Unlimited. Preparing for this video, I actually made a post on Threads and asked authors to recommend their own indie books to me, and I got so many responses. I'm not going to be able to read over 80 indie romance books in 24 hours, but the post is there, and I will link it in the comments below if you're interested in checking out all these great books. That being said, I'm going to do the best to read as many of these books as I can. I'm going to set a goal for 4. I know in the past I've never read more than 3 or even 3 full books in a 24-hour readathon. I'm going to set the goal for 4. I've been reading a lot more this month. I have a better pace. And also, it seems like a lot of these books are on the shorter end for the most part. Some of them are pretty long, but a lot of them do seem to be more novellas or shorter books. So I think I can read 4 at least. So I'm going to go for 4. We'll see how close I get. Guess in the comments how many books I'm going to read before the end of this video. No cheating by looking at the chapters. For the record, you don't know if I finished all the books in the chapters, so you don't really know if that's the official answer, but no cheating. Guess how many books I can read in 24 hours, and let me know how many books you think you can read in 24 hours. With that being said, the timer is set. Let's see how many indie romance books I can read in 24 hours. It's going to be really embarrassing after setting the goal at 4 books or more if I only read 1 book in this 24-hour readathon. So let's get started reading with Searching for a Valentine by Alice Dashwood. This is actually a novella, which is a good thing because I have a hockey game in 2 hours and I want to get finished with the first book before that hockey game. I know a novella technically isn't a book. For this video, I'm going to be counting it, and I really want to be done with that before I hit the ice. So hopefully I can get this done. We'll see. I'm definitely not going to be able to read the entire thing before the game if I keep on talking. So let's get reading. It's been about an hour since I started this book, and I'm at the 51% mark, so yeah, I would say this book takes about 2 hours to read. So far, I'll say I like the story a lot. It's nice and sweet. I will say Reese, I believe his name is, the love interest, he does make some questionable financial decisions so far, especially on the business end. Anyway, I really wanted to finish this before I went to play my hockey game, but I really have to get my stuff set up, so I'm going to have to read this when I get back. And after my game, when I do get back, I will give a more in-depth review of this book for anyone who's interested in reading it. Anyway, I'm going to go pack my stuff and make sure I have everything because it'll be really embarrassing if I show up to my game without my helmet. After making the joke about forgetting my helmet, I had to check 17 times if my helmet was actually in here. So I'm back from the game. We did not win. We lost 7-3. That being said, I did get 1 assist, so I guess it wasn't all that bad. I now have 20 hours left to try to read as many indie romance books as I possibly can. As you can see, I'm pretty disgusting right now. This is not fresh out of the shower hair. This is I just played hockey hair. That being said, I am on the floor to try to finish this book here because I do want to kind of finish this and get back into a rhythm before I take a shower and maybe have a snack. I am on the floor though because I do not want to make my bed gross. Let's get back into it. So I've got 18 hours left in this challenge, and I finally finished the first book that I was probably supposed to read within the first 2 hours. Honestly, if I didn't have to go play that game, I'd probably be 2 books in right now. Now, before I pick up another book to try to catch up in this challenge, I want to talk a little bit about Searching for a Valentine by Alice Dashwood. This book, or I guess I should say this novella, is a 2-hour read, and I found it pretty enjoyable. One thing I really enjoyed about this story is it's the right length. I think a lot of times, and not just in the romance genre, a lot of authors like to try to drag on the story to make sure it's a book and not a novella. And personally, I hate that because there's nothing wrong with writing a novella. Some stories do need 200,000 words. Other stories just need 20. If you're looking for a wholesome romantic 2-hour read on Valentine's Day, Searching for a Valentine is for you. Brianna, the female love interest in this story, is actually trying to start her bookstore. So if that's something that you're interested in doing in the future, this is definitely a fun read for you. There was also no spice in this book, which was nice for me because it was a good way for me to kind of dip my toes into this reading challenge. That being said, this would not be a challenge if I did not try to plunge myself into the deep end by the end of it. The only warning I will give for this story is Reese or Rice, or however you say his name, does suffer from PTSD, so if that's something that might trigger you, maybe this story is not the book for you. Now let's quickly address the elephant in the room. I had my hockey game earlier, I was talking about hockey. You want to see me read hockey romance. Well, sorry, I hate to break it to you, but I will not be reading Icebreaker in this video. I will be reading in a video soon though, so be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for that. The reason I'm not going to read Icebreaker in this romance readathon is because it's supposed to be an indie romance readathon. Fortunately for you hockey romance lovers though, there are a lot of recommendations on Threads for hockey romance. So I'm going to pick one of those to read, preferably not one of the ones with a shirtless guy on skates. Not that there's anything wrong with covers like that, it's just not my thing. To be fair, most of the books on this list are not really my thing. I prefer robots and explosions. But I actually really enjoyed that first one, so we'll see how this goes. I need my phone to see that list. So I looked through all the indie hockey romance books I was recommended, and this one, Hockey Heart by Kate Wilder, looks really sweet. I mean, look at the cover, it's so wholesome. That being said, this book is also under 200 pages, so it's also on the short side. Before you say that's cheating, I'm willing to cut you a deal. In exchange for reading 2 shorter books, I will also read the one that has the guy on skates that has no shirt on. Deal? I thought so. I already regret this deal, but I came to this video wanting to explore a wide variety of indie romance, and by the end of this video, that is what I'm going to do. After reading this book, which I'm assuming is a wholesome story about a single hockey dad finding love, I am going into the deep end. Anyway, back to reading. Time check, I have 16 hours left and I just read Hockey Heart. To be honest, based on the cover, this book was not quite what I was expecting, but I'm also not disappointed. I will say though, I definitely duped myself with my deal before because this was definitely a little more spicy than I anticipated it being. I guess I would give it a 2 out of 5 on like a spice scale, but to be fair, I don't really know how scales like that work at all. I don't really read spice, so I don't really know how much spice is a lot of spice. I have no idea.
See? I can hang with you guys. Spicy life. Spicy. Whoa. Wow. It's too much salt. It's got. Whoa. My mouth is on. Need milk. Need milk.
I really hope that's a deal, at least for the scope of this challenge, but we'll see how this goes as I continue to read more books. I will say at the start of this book, we do have another great example of how not to spend your money. The financial decisions in both these indie romance books that I've read so far have made me want to slam my head through a wall. Sarah, the main character in this book, sold her car so she could go on a date. Maybe that's why I'm still single. I'm just too cheap for love. That, and every single time I tell a girl I'm a writer, they assume like I'm some sort of romantic poet and not a sadistic sci-fi author. I don't write poems about love. I write short stories about AIs conducting evil experiments on humans. Although sometimes those experiments are about the chemicals that your brain emits that make you believe you're in love. Yeah, if you're looking for romance, my first book is not going to be the place to find it. I got off track though. I'm supposed to be talking about Hockey Heart. I will say this book features the worst first date I've ever read about. I honestly don't think I could try to have a worse date if I tried. I take that back, I have some ideas. Stupid jokes aside, I think this book has a really decent storyline. It is a bit cheesy at points, but it works for the story. Honestly, I think my biggest pet peeve with this book is like there's like a fake hockey team in it, in the sense where it's like not an actual NHL team, and that kind of just like took me out of the reality of the story. Also, some of the interactions between the guys on the team are not that realistic. Although, to be fair, are you really reading hockey romance for the realistic plot? I mean, I am, but for the record, I am not the target audience of this book at all. And no, before anyone asks again, I will never write a hockey romance book. It's not happening. I'm probably never gonna write a romance book in general. I don't know why people keep on asking me to. You're not gonna like it. It's not going to be good. I would honestly rather write a nonfiction book about cold fusion than write a hockey romance book. I will read another one though, because I'm true to my word. Also, it's like 5 a.m. What am I doing? I have about 15 and a half hours left. This book is significantly longer than the previous few. It's called Open Skate by Catherine Dell. At least I think that's how I say Catherine Dell. I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce any authors' names. If I can read this book within 5 hours, I think I'll be in really good shape to hit my goal and potentially maybe even read 5 indie books for this challenge. I don't want to get too ambitious though. I've tried these readathon challenges before, and I know after a certain amount of time, I do get pretty tired. The fact that I skated earlier today is not going to make things easier. Anyway, let's get reading. So I fell asleep last night, and it cost me a lot of time. I now have a little under 6 hours to finish reading this book and try to read another book. The good news is I can now read at full speed because I did sleep an entire night. The problem is I spent so much time in this challenge not actually reading. We'll see how it goes. I'm 44% done with this book, so I'm assuming I can read it within the next 2.5 hours. Let's get back to it. Stop barking, Loki. I'll go say hi in a minute.
Hello. You want the belly rub? Good girl, Mama. You wanna stop barking now?
So I finished reading Open Skate, and if the previous book was a 2 on the spice scale, I'd definitely say this one was a 4, or maybe, I would say 4. I don't know. I really don't know how spicy these books get, so this rating is not accurate at all. I will give a lot of credit where credit is due. The depiction of the National Hockey League is a lot more accurate in this book. Once again, in this book, there's some very questionable business decisions, financial decisions being made, but I guess that's just a trend in the romance genre. At least from the 3 books I've read so far, do not take financial advice from romance books. Overall, I will say this book is pretty well written. Out of the books I've read so far, I would definitely say I think it has the best character development. Also makes sense since it is also the longest book I've read so far. Would I read it again? Probably not, but if you're a hockey romance fan and you like spicy romance, you'll probably enjoy it. Now, I won't lie, I'm feeling some heavy romance book fatigue right now, but I'm going to try to push through and finish one more book in the remaining 3 hours of this challenge. I did lose a significant amount of time to falling asleep, but on the bright side, I can understand what I'm reading now because at a point I was just reading the same page over and over again, just zoning out. So at least now I can really focus on reading these books so I can actually give an honest opinion on them. So I'm going to go through the list of books I was recommended on Threads and try to find one more I can finish. It's strange because I just got 9 hours of sleep, but I feel so tired. And I think that's just because I've been reading so much. Scratch that, I had the game last night, that's why I'm so tired. That makes a lot more sense. Anyway, as usual, I'm procrastinating. I'm gonna get back to the challenge. So the next romance book I'm gonna read, or novella I should say, is Wager in the Woods by Tiffany Costa. I have a feeling based on the tags that this one might be the dirtiest one yet, but it's a novella, meaning I can finish it within 3 hours. I did read some of the comments before I actually started reading this novella though, and I actually want to go on a little bit of a rant here because there's something that's kind of frustrating me about some of these shorter length novellas. The 3 novellas I've read for this challenge have been very transparent about being shorter in length. So I find it absolutely ridiculous that some of them are losing stars on their ratings because people find them too short and not a full-length book. Yeah, that's what a novella is. This really hits close to home to me because I'm currently writing a series of short stories. The short stories are connected to tell a bigger story for a book, but they all stand on their own. They are short stories. And I find it so frustrating when I'm reading other short stories when people complain in the reviews about the short stories being short stories. Like the other day, I was looking for more sci-fi books of short stories to kind of give myself inspiration for writing my own project, and some of the reviews for these short story books were like, I don't like short stories. Okay, then why did you read it? The words short story collection were on the cover. The same with Wager in the Woods. It says a novella on the cover. Anyway, that's my rant. I have 2.5 hours. Let's see if I can finish reading this. And I'm done. I still have 50 or so minutes left on this clock, but I cannot finish an entire book in 50 minutes. And to be honest, the idea of opening another romance book to start reading, I can't do it. I am all romanced out, honestly, for the year. I'm done. After I'm done shooting this video, I need to play VR or something. I've been in bed reading all day. Actually, I gotta make some Valentine's Day writing memes, and then I can play video games. Out of all the indie romance books I've read in the past 24 hours, I will definitely say A Wager in the Woods was definitely the most spicy one, if that's what you're looking for. Also, once again, while not on the scale of some of these other books, it also features some terrible, terrible business decisions. I don't read nearly enough romance books to know if this is an actual theme in romance, or I just so happen to pick 4 books that happen to feature terrible financial decisions, but is this like a staple in the genre? I am going to take off some points for this book for just casually mentioning drunk driving and just glossing over it. This book starts with a male main character drunk driving into a fence, and there's never really any repercussions for that at all. This book is definitely heavier on the spice than the actual storytelling, but the actual spice writing is pretty good, so if that's what you're looking for, be sure to check it out. In the past 24 hours, I honestly think I've read enough romance for the entirety of 2025. I am definitely going to have to take a break and read a few sci-fi books before I do my icebreaker video because I cannot read any more romance. I can't even think of reading another romance book right now. That being said, I'm just not a big fan of the romance genre. If you are a really big romance fan, I highly recommend you check out these indie romance books and also check out all the indie romance books that were recommended on the Threads post I originally posted to create this video. Also, let me know about your favorite indie romance book in the comments because the chances are if this video gets a lot of views, I will probably make another one. That way, if I'm going to torture myself, at least I'm supporting indie authors who just do not get the support they deserve. Also, if I am going to do another one of these videos, I would love to know what romance scenarios and tropes are your favorite so I can cover them in the next video. If you have not already, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I had to read a lot of interesting scenes in order to make this video, so I really appreciate all the support. Happy Valentine's Day. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to spend the rest of my Valentine's Day being Batman in VR.